Hello, hello. I'm in Castle Rock, Colorado. It's the team at ProEdge. Kelly Timmis and Mike Rust are joining me. There they are.
Hey.
There's that big Broncos fan.
Good morning.
As you can see, Kelly Timmis has a Broncos helmet.
Pretty much looks like it's on me. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. We got a lot to cover, so we'll get started, but we're going to go into the maintenance steps to be CDC compliant for the aftermath of COVID-19, or how to prepare your office for reopening for COVID-19, and then how to be CDC compliant beyond that. So thanks for joining us. I will get to introduce my two teammates here. First is Kelly T. She's known as Kelly T because I'm Kelly B. And we've got lots of people in our office for whatever reason at ProEdge that share the same name. So we've got nicknames all over the place. And she's Kelly T and I'm Kelly B. But Kelly T is the senior consultant and education specialist for ProEdge Dental Water Lab. She's been with us for about 3 years, has a background as a registered nurse. But she has helped thousands of practices across the country, thousands and thousands of practices across the country achieve safe water. It's not always been easy, I'm sure you'd say, Kelly T, but she's done a fantastic job. If you're a customer of ours, I'm sure you've experienced just the gracious way that she goes about helping people. She's kind of a fan favorite. So Kelly T, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Next is Mike Rust, our regional sales manager for ProEdge. He's been with ProEdge from the beginning, 9 years with ProEdge, and even beyond that, he's got more experience testing water before we, became ProEdge specifically, that brand. But he's got lots of experience inside the dental industry. And while there are people with more education and more science background, I don't think there is anybody else inside of dental that has more practical knowledge investigating dental unit waterline contamination and maintenance. So Mike, thanks for bringing all your experience to the table today.
Thanks, Kelly. Lots of trial and error.
Yeah. Well, I'm Kelly B. As I said already, I'm the marketing guy. I've been with ProEdge for 2 years and absolutely love working for this company and working alongside these two. We've got something unique building at ProEdge. I hope you get to experience a little bit of that today. But it's absolutely been a joy and an honor to be with this team for 2 years. I am less and less cool at dinner parties when people ask me, what do you do? I talk about dental unit waterline contamination and tell people more than they ever wanted to know about it. But aside from that, I feel like I'm cooler. But I don't know if it does anything for me on the weekends. But nonetheless, that's not why we're here, to talk about my social life. All right, I'm on a mission, really. Wait.
Hey.
No.
So, see, we get Kelly T's and B's, we get them confused to even each other. This is my slide. So I have become a woman on a mission. Honestly, I get to work with offices, like Kelly said, all week and help them to obtain and maintain clean water lines. And so that's really the objectives that we want to do today. We want to arm you with the knowledge to become effective and efficient at maintaining your water lines, becoming a safe water advocate for your office. Secondly, we want to help you know how to prepare for routine care after COVID-19. And then third, and this most importantly, we want to just thank you and let you know how much we appreciate every single thing that you do. No matter what part of dentistry that you're in, your job is important and we recognize you, we see you, we applaud you, we thank you.
Absolutely. If you're here, it's because you value high standards in infection prevention. And now is obviously a more important time than any to be buttoned up, to know exactly what to do and to be dedicated to that. We're so excited for you. I think, unfortunately, after this webinar, you'll probably be like me and a little less cool, a little more nerdy in terms of waterlines.
We are dorks. We're nerds. We are nerds.
The goal today is to make you less cool.
No, we won't do that. You can't.
The fact that you're here is a good start, though.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we are going to make you safe water advocates for safer dental care in your office, and that we are excited about. Obviously, COVID-19 has created an unprecedented situation, and we want you to know that we feel like we're in this with you. Obviously, we're feeling the effects as well, and so we're here for you. We're only going to get through this together, and there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel, which is awesome. We're all excited for that. But just know throughout this whole thing, ProEdge is available for you. Our lab is available for you for consultations and testing. So if you have any questions, we're here for you, both through this webinar and after. Probably many of you found our webinar through our COVID page, resource page, but if you want more resources, you can go to proedgedental.com/COVID-19. We've got a number of things there for you, and we're going to continue to add to that as long as we go through this process. Utilize the Q&A section. So Zoom has a Q&A feature. It's different than the chat feature. The Q&A obviously is for questions and answers, and it makes it easy on us to be able to track what your questions are, what questions are really popular. So when you see that first question pop up, you can also see a thumbs up sign. If you've got the same question or you are really excited about that question, give it a thumbs up. That helps us know what's important to you. We will spend as much time today on Q&A as needed. We've spent as much as 65 minutes after the webinar on Q&A as people have stayed around to just ask more questions. And we value that. We want to make sure we get all that answered. However, even with that long a Q&A, and I don't think it'll be that long today, but even if it was that, or even if we did it that long, there's going to be questions you have that are specific to your office, unique situations that we're not going to be able to cover today. So please, again, know our team is here. We do free consultations all the time, whether that's through, during COVID season or beyond. So you can call Kelly T in her time, and we'll share contact information there at the end, but always available for you. So call and we'll get whatever questions you have answered. CE today is a possibility. It is it's not a live CE through the webinar, but we'll be able to give you a downloadable link to get an ebook from John Molinari. And then there's a quiz, promo code free. So no worries there, but it is a self-study. So just be aware of that. We will cover every single question that's on the quiz through this webinar. Mike even may give you a wink wink at once in a while.
Right. The answer's B or C.
So be on the lookout, pay attention, and you'll have no problem with that quiz, but it's up to you. Also, last thing before we get into the deep dive here, just know as we're all looking to reopen safely, just a reminder, the ADA, we had a state-by-state recommendations on all the mandates. We're now encouraging people to go to the ADA. They've got an interactive map. It's pretty cool, but that's updated daily and will help you understand what's the local guidance in terms of mandates, in terms of dental practices staying home or being able to do more than emergency care and that sort of thing. So you can use that to stay up on when do you reopen, how to reopen, etc. All right, Mike, COVID-19 and dental unit water lines. Lots of people concerned. Some concerns are valid, some we don't need to worry about. So let's set the record straight. What is true and what is fluff when it comes to dental unit water lines and COVID-19?
Yeah, and I know a lot of you have experts that you call when you have questions about infection control, and they're probably experts because they've been to the OSAP training and the OSAP boot camp, and when they go there, they listen to experts who are even smarter than they are, and when those experts have a question, they ask John Molinari. But when John Molinari has a question about dental unit water lines, he asked Dr. Shannon Mills, so we asked Dr. Shannon Mills. And we wanted to get it right from the very top. We said, can COVID populate dental unit water lines? And Dr. Mills, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said it's very unlikely. It's not something we need to worry about. If we think about the way COVID is transmitted, it is a waterborne pathogen, right? It is a virus, and viruses, by and large, don't replicate well in water. So it's not something to be concerned about. We asked specific questions of him, including, can my product, whether it's a tablet or a straw or a shock, kill the coronavirus? And he said, you don't have to worry about it. It's kind of a moot point because as far as we know, it's not a concern in dealing with water lines. It's not likely. Don't worry about it. He actually said, don't worry about it, but there are other things to worry about in dealing with water lines. And Kelly will get into that. But I think there's something that we should talk about. And that is that there's going to be a heightened awareness about aerosols. Some of them might even be a phobia, but there's some legitimate fears with people being concerned with dealing with water lines. And there's going to be more awareness. You guys are smart to be here. And I commend you for becoming more boring by listening to us. But there's a positive marketing message that should come out of all of this. Your patients are going to be looking for the CDC compliance, and you guys are very good at it. So bring your CDC compliance to the fore. Brag about what you're doing right. Show off the fact that you test your autoclave every week and that you open the pouches in front of every patient saying, hey, see, these instruments are sterilized just for you. You're dedicated enough to be here because you value infection control. So show you care, show off. That's the positive marketing message that should come out of this. And again, there might be some of this fear of aerosols is a phobia, but Kelly can tell us that there's legitimate concerns too, right, Kelly B?
Yeah, so I'm sure you have all heard this, but just to make sure, we in the dental industry, those that are dental healthcare professionals, are at extreme risk because of the COVID-19. The aerosols created inside of a dental office are creating a unique situation. And so when this is from the Occupational Information Network, this data was gathered. Basically, who's at the highest risk? Well, number one, hygienists. More than any other occupation on planet Earth, the number one at risk. Dental assistants are number 4 and dentists are number 7. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. You protect yourselves. Again, you follow the CDC interim recommendations for how to do dental care with proper PPE and all of that. But just being aware of this is going to be incredibly important for the safety of our profession. And so again, we thank you so much for all that you're doing and the way that you're stepping up to continue to take care of us through this very uncertain time. But so COVID-19, just to reiterate, no concern at this point that it could ever populate dental unit water lines. So don't need to worry about that. However, it is creating a problem for dental unit waterline maintenance, and that is what we need to worry about. So Kelly T, what's the problem, and what do we need to do?
Yes. So even before COVID-19, and when practices are operating as usual, dental unit waterlines sit stagnant. They sit at room temperature most of the time, even in the busiest offices. So with COVID-19, the problem that we are seeing is that offices are shut down, right? So they're just seeing emergencies. So with the increased office shutdown, this leads to an increase in the stagnation. That increased stagnation leads to an increase in biofilm. Now, biofilm is where we see the problem. Biofilm does create that perfect environment for pathogenic bacteria to grow. So the bacteria that does grow well in water lines that can be harmful for your patients. Things like Mycobacterium abscessus, Legionella, Pseudomonas. So those are the things that's the problem here. The increase in stagnation creates the biofilm, and that's what we need to worry about. So each practice needs to have a specific waterline protocol ready to go, so you're ready to reopen safely. And we got your back. And Kelly, you mentioned this before. We have the proedgedental.com/COVID-19. We've got this on here. The first thing you want to do, and we've been shut down for a while, so you may already have done this, but purge, get all that water on your lines. You want to shock before you reopen, and you want to test to make sure your lines are safe prior to reopening. So step one, purging. Again, you probably have already done this. If you haven't, it's not too late. You want to purge all of your water lines, just across the board, no matter what product you're using, you want to purge. Purging is just, you're going to empty your water bottle, put the water back on, and then you're going to purge your lines. So get those the lines as dry as possible. So again, across the board, so whether you're using a tablet, so the Blue Tab, ICX, Citrustil, any of the tablets that you're using, usually you don't need to purge, but during this extended period of non-use, you want to make sure that you purge those lines. So empty bottle, purge your lines, and just put the empty bottle back onto the unit. If you're using the straw, so there's a couple of different straws. The Dentapure straw, that's the iodine-based straw. So you want to take the straw off. You want to wipe it down, put it in a Ziploc bag, and label the bag with the date that you installed the straw to begin with. And then I would date it with today's date or the date that you took it off, and then store it away from the light. Prior to seeing patients again, you want to shock those lines and test to make sure that everything is good. And again, you want to purge the air out of those lines. You don't want any, or purge the water out of those lines. You don't want any water in the lines, just air. Sterile straw, that's a silver-based straw, a little bit different. You don't want to purge, but you're going to just empty the bottle, put the bottle back on, the empty bottle back on, and you're going to leave that straw in place. And then you want to make sure that all that water's out of the lines. Prior to seeing your patients again or routine care, you want to shock and then test to make sure that your lines are safe.
And all of this comes directly from the manufacturers. Again, links to those recommendations as well are included in our shutdown protocol here. So again, if you want, proedgedental.com/COVID-19, one of the first resources on the left, you can download it and get links to the other manufacturer recommendations as well.
Right. So also get this question. So say you're just seeing emergency patients. So some of your rooms may be dry rooms, like we call them. So they're not, you've purged them, everything's out of them, but you have one room open to seeing emergencies. If you do have that unit, that room open, it's not going to be effective to purge one of those lines. If you're using that unit, use it as you normally would. So keep your straw on, use it, flush your lines in the morning, flush in between patients, shock when it's time to shock, test when it's time to test to make sure that you are meeting those CDC guidelines of 500 colony forming units or less. And then again, prior to returning to care, especially if you're using a straw, this is a really important slide for you. So again, across the board, whether you're using a tablet, straw, whatever you're using, really, really important to shock. Shocking is using a strong chemical to clean out the insides of those lines. We recommend a product made by Crosstex. It's called Liquid Ultra. It used to be called Sterilex. It's the pink stuff, or a diluted bleach solution. Both are very effective shock products. Our protocols. But if you're using a straw, you do not want to use these products through the straw. So we have what we call dummy straws. Kelly, do you have a dummy straw? You can, show kind of what that is.
I do have a dummy straw. It's right here. You can request it. It's this one, not this one. Sorry.
I always like to point the dummy straw to you, so you could.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you need this, if you use a straw product, a Sterile straw, Hu-Friedy straw, Dentapure straw, you can go to proedgedental.com/dummy. You won't see my picture there, despite my lack of communication there for the last 10 seconds. And you can request this, we'll ship it to you. It's at no charge. Instructions for use included, very simple. It's got the same quick connect as the straws. So you take your straw off, you plug this straw in. There's no antimicrobial properties to this dummy straw. It's simply a way for you to very easily activate or bring, uptake the shock solution into your lines without putting it through this, because you will ruin your straw if you use either of those two solutions through those straws. So go to proedgedental.com/dummy. You can remember it by thinking, who's that marketing guy? He was a dummy.
Oh, no.
No, but go there. You request it, and we'll be happy to ship that off to you.
And just a touch, if you're using a tablet, you don't need a dummy straw. Like Kelly said, there's no product in that straw. It's just an empty take-up tube. But if you do have any of the straw products, so the Stericyl, Hu-Friedy, Denim Pure straw, to shock with something effective, you need one of those dummy straws. And then after you shock, you want to test, because you want to make sure that that shock worked prior to seeing your patients, prior to routine care. You want to make sure that that biofilm is out of there, and that your lines meet or exceed the CDC guidelines of 500 CFUs, colony forming units or less. Because even with purging, it's really important. Their bacteria can grow. You want to prove that that shock worked.
All right, so what if you don't use a tablet or straw? What do we recommend?
So, tons of calls too. People are like, I'm hooked just to the municipal supply system, so directly to the city. We highly, highly, highly suggest that you retrofit. Retrofitting is just having that closed bottle system. People hate that answer, and I get it. I know, but it's really the only way. It's the safest way. It's the cheapest way. It's the best way to be able to control the water that's going into your patient's mouths. And it's really the only way that you can shock your lines and treat. Now we do have, there are municipal cartridges. So Stericyl, Dentapure have a municipal cartridge. They go in the foot of the chair or in the junction box. Again, with these products, if you don't have a water bottle, it's really, really hard to shock. So even with this cartridge, we recommend retrofitting so you can shock. Just want to point out, we don't make any money off of this. We don't have a retrofit kit to sell you. It's just, this is the best way to get clean water. This is the only way to shock. So if you have a cartridge, great, but we still recommend getting that bottle so you can shock with an effective protocol. Now, if you're using a centralized system, so like one here, we recommend that you change the filter, have it sanitize and test. No matter across, even with the municipal cartridge, really, really important to test. Centralized system, shock, and it's kind of difficult to shock these. It is possible to shock, but again, highly recommend getting your units retrofitted if you have any of these, or if you're just hooked directly to the city and you want to test to make sure your lines are safe. Emergency care note. So this is crazy. So I just got a call this morning from a dentist, and he got endocarditis twice. And so he reached out to me and was just wanting to know if we, about waterline testing. His doctor told him to test his water lines because that's where she thinks it may be coming from. So this is really, really critical. If you're doing surgery, and now, not just now during COVID-19, but always, if you're doing any kind of surgical procedure that's defined by the CDC, it's critical that you use sterile water, but not only sterile water, but from a sterile delivery system. You can't just open up a container of sterile water and pour it into your water bottle and then use your regular, handpiece or air water syringe. That it's not sterile anymore. So these are the definitions from the CDC of what a surgical procedure is. If you're doing any of these procedures, it's very, very important that you use that sterile water from a sterile source.
And just to reiterate this, we see this as just paramount importance that we continue to educate on this. This is the #1 recommendation or the first recommendation from the CDC in terms of water is the sterile water for surgeries. I don't know if you saw, many of you, there was a dentist in New Jersey that made national headlines recently. 15 patients of his got endocarditis. 12 of them needed surgery and one unfortunately passed away. None of them had prior pre-existing conditions. And this dentist was not using sterile water for surgeries. And so he had a number of other infection control breaches. And he ended up being suspended, but you don't want to end up on national headlines. So sterile water, sterile delivery systems, anytime you're doing surgical procedures. Again, the CDC defines what those are, and you can go to their website and their dental unit water quality recommendations and find out what that is. All right, Kelly T. So why is bacteria in our water lines a problem? You hinted at some pathogenic bacteria earlier on, but take us through the why.
So I always like to paint a picture of the why, because we want to humanize it. And so the why is this little girl. This is Mamie Morales. She is just one of the many faces of the why behind waterline maintenance. She's a 7-year-old little girl who went and got a routine phlebotomy. And due to contaminated dental unit water lines, she developed a serious infection in her mouth. She had to have surgery to remove part of her jawbone, had permanent teeth removed. She was hospitalized for more than a month and had to receive heavy doses of heavy duty antibiotics. So they tried the amoxicillin, they tried the penicillin, I'm sure. But what finally worked was the antibiotic that was created to treat leprosy. So that in itself just comes with some severe side effects that didn't have to happen. You know, she is just one of many, but like to paint the picture. So this is the why. She is the why. Her and many faces are the why.
So Mike, you know, in the aftermath of the Anaheim outbreak, we were somewhat intimately involved as the Orange County Department of Health reached out to us to see if we could test. Take us through what happened and what the timeline was.
Yeah, we were intimately involved, Kelly. We got the call from the Orange County Department of Health as soon as they found out that you know, they were able to finally link the infections that were up in the ER with this dental clinic down the street, essentially from the hospital. And they called us and said, "Do you do R2A testing, which is the gold standard?" We said yes. They said, then they basically said, "Well, we want you to test the water at this clinic. We're going to test it every week and just follow up with it." So we knew their water results, and we knew the people. We got to be kind of friendly with the people in the clinic. But we kind of lost touch with, we never really knew what the danger was in real time. When it got to be, so first Mimi shows up, she's one of the first patients, and then a couple of weeks later, another child shows up, similar symptoms, and the doctors put it together. That's when they called us. And then when it got to be 6 or 7 kids, it was on the local news, and there was the vans, the TV vans in Southern California showed up outside this clinic, and they're standing there every morning saying, "It's a parent's worst nightmare. You take your daughter for a routine procedure and she ends up in the hospital." Just a big black eye, and they were there every day like they had no other news to report. And they were there for a long time. When it got to be 20 kids that had showed up at the ER, it was on regional news. When it got to be 40 kids, it was on NPR. I saw it on CBS this morning. It was on CNN. It hit the national news. And when it got to be, there was a website where we would follow this information from Orange County. When it got to be 73 kids that were infected and infected, they shut down the website because the lawsuits started happening. And so we didn't know if that was how many more than 73 kids it was. But Kelly, you've got an update that's pretty current on this. On the lawsuit.
So we now know that it's 200 patients that are involved in litigation against this practice. It was set for bellwether trial here in April. That didn't happen. I think it was pushed back. We don't know the current date of that. But everybody, the kind of consensus is, and they talked about this at OSAP boot camp this last winter, but this is going to be, I think, Mike, you say, a black eye for dentistry, and probably one of the biggest ones in dental history. This isn't the only case. In 2015, Atlanta experienced a very similar outbreak. Again, Mycobacterium abscessus, 35 patients. Litigation is ongoing in that case as well. And from what we know, they're waiting to see what happens in Anaheim, because they're going to, they're going to use whatever precedent that sets to settle the case in Atlanta. But what we know also being at ProEdge is that this happens a lot more than just those 2 cases. Anaheim hit national news. Atlanta didn't hit really any news.
Right.
There's been several other cases. 2011, a woman in Italy passed away from Legionella. 1993 dentist passed away from Legionella. There's been other cases with contaminated water being splashed in an eye and other things happening. So lots of different things. But ProEdge gets a call about every 4 to 6 months with another case, either confirmed or a concerned person thinking that it has to do with their water lines. We had a dentist that called who got Mycobacterium abscessus, and he was concerned that it was his water lines. We had a prison call that they had a Pseudomonas issue. They were concerned it was their dental unit water lines. And then we've had other confirmed cases in California and otherwise. So it's not just the one that hit the news. It does happen regularly. And it's what we learned from Anaheim is actually it's really difficult to link. And I won't go too deep into that, but it's a real challenge to link. Now we're getting some good questions on the Q&A. Everybody, we will get to those. Liz and Riley, great questions. We will get there, but to make sure we keep going and finish this, get all our information, we're gonna keep going. So Kelly T, we got the why. How does this happen? I fill my dental unit with tap water or even filtered water. How can it be that there's so much bacteria that this is a problem?
Right. And, you know, and I never want to cause anxiety for people or stress or, you know, oh my gosh, panic. The thing is it's the science behind biofilm and dental unit water lines. Like I mentioned before, even in the busiest practices, when times are normal, the dental unit water lines sit stagnant most of the time. So they are actually less like a river or like a stream, and they're more like a pond. And no one wants to think about, you know, oh, I'm using pond water to squirt into my patient's mouth. But in all reality, you know, like I said, you only use your air water syringe 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. And so the water sits stagnant and we're in the room. So it's a room temperature. And so it's the perfect place for bacteria to grow. Plus the water lines are so tiny. So I like to think about it the analogy as a dandelion. And I walked outside and there was a ton of dandelions, and it just really made me think about this. So what happens when you blow on the dandelion? The seeds kind of just disperse all throughout, and then they just kind of grow everywhere. Well, same thing with the dental unit water lines. Every time that you squirt your air water syringe, you're squirting it for 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. It's just spreading. It's just pushing that biofilm growth downstream just a little bit more, and then it just reattaches and it grows again. So Mike, do you want to touch? Biofilm is stubborn and complex, and maybe Kelly, why don't you take this slide? This one might be for you, or Mike, one of you. It's stubborn. It's hard to explain.
Mike, you got it, right?
No, okay, I will. Okay. So I think there's a couple of really important things on this slide. My favorite is in the lower right corner where it's number 4 and number 5. Here's what happens. In dental unit water lines, right, they're pretty small. They're about the size of this air water syringe tip. The water sits stagnant, like Kelly says, 23.5 hours a day. And that gives the bacteria plenty of time to do what it's designed to do, which is attach, grow, and then detach, go downstream as far as we send it. And then it reattaches. And when it detaches in chunks and in fingers, and that's called dispersion of planktonic bacteria, and that takes days or weeks. So when we shock our water lines, it takes a nasty chemical, like Kelly says. It takes a high-level disinfectant, right? And before we had the low-level disinfectants, we had to shock every week because bugs take about that long to come back and get and contaminate the water lines. But Kelly, I was going to ask you, there's something about this slide, a couple of points on this slide that are pretty important for some reason.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mike, but I would just say that this might be an important slide to take a picture of, because there's a couple of tough questions on the quiz that this might help with. Now,
may or may not. I mean,
yeah, and I'm not going to tell you where the answers are. I'm not going to. You're on your own.
Well, right? You know what? It dawns on me that we say we cover everything, but here's what I would like to say. One quick thing about this: the water that comes into everyone's house and that comes into everyone's dental office is usually very good. It's potable 99% of the time. I mean, it's drinkable. It's under 500 CFUs. It meets the standard, because the cities have big pipes and the water flows fast, and municipal water uses chlorine and filtration And that works really good to get the water out of the tap. It's when it gets to the dental water lines where it's really small and the water sits stagnant. That's where the bacteria grow. This is the problem area, the whole dental unit water line that goes to the air water syringe high-speed handpiece. And that biofilm has been, we've known about it since 1963. That's what I wanted to say.
See why I passed that slide off? Mike is so smart. I give a picture of dandelion.
Yeah, I can read that slide better.
Mike's got it down. He can explain biofilm way better than me.
Yeah. Right. So what do we need to do? We know why. We know there's dangers. We know it's going to grow really quickly, and it's pretty much out of our control with the engineering that is involved in, blowing the air water or starting the air water syringe. So what do we need to do? Well, the CDC has had the same guidelines on dental unit water quality since 2003. At least 33 state dental boards require CDC compliance on some level. You can reach out to us if you'd like to know about your state, but there's a map that's a hint. The light blue is required. And it's the dedicated CDC compliance that's going to protect your patients. So knowing their recommendations, following their recommendations is going to make sure that your patients are safe and make sure that Mimi is not a situation in your office. And then the documentation of that CDC compliance is your practice's protection. That if you get an inspection, if you have a former employee that complains, any of those things, you want documented proof saying, hey, I follow the CDC compliance, here's the documentation. And so the question is then, what does the CDC recommend? Well, we like to put the CDC recommendations on dental unit water quality into 3 pillars. The first we discussed at length already, very simple, very important. When you're doing surgery, you want to use sterile water, and the only way to have sterile water is to pair sterile water with a sterile delivery system. The second is for regular dental treatment. Whenever you're doing dental unit water, whenever you're using your regular dental unit water, the quality of that water has to meet the EPA standard for potable or drinkable water. And that's less than or equal to 500 colony forming units per milliliter of heterotrophic bacteria, waterborne bacteria. Now they have, you can see in the other flags here, they've got 4 other recommendations that they have as to how to meet that. But whatever you use, it needs to meet the 500 CFU standard. And really, you don't want to be near 500. You want to be near 0. The third pillar is regular testing to make sure that you are meeting that EPA standard. If you're not testing, you don't know if you are meeting it. You can put in a treatment product. You can be shocking weekly even, and you don't know. And we'll get into that here in a second. But and then the verification, a piece of that is, again, that documentation. So you're regularly testing that, but you've got the documentation, both of your testing results, but also your training, that your staff are trained, that you have standard operating procedures. You've got a waterline maintenance protocol. It's written down, people are trained on it, and it's followed. So going back to number 2, the second pillar, Mike, you need to meet that EPA standard of 500 colony forming units per milliliter or less. And you can do that multiple ways. A lot of people are using some of those ways, but what we've found is that it's not actually as effective as we all hoped.
Oh yeah, so Nancy and John Molinari, Nancy Dewhurst, looked at the data from 22,000 water tests and published this in Compendium not too long ago. And yeah, I think it was surprising that the failure rate for treated dental water is around 31%. That means we're spending all this money on tablets and straws and they're only working 69% of the time. That's kind of frustrating. They dove a little deeper into the data and they compared the different types of products. And the truth is, we like all of these products. We love straws and we love tablets, and they all can work and they all will fail unless you follow the instructions and use them properly, which includes shocking regularly. With the tablets, people who use tablets and shock and recognize that they need to shock get really good results. I mean, 90% is pretty great results because we know it's really rare. The average is around 70 for all water tests. So think about that. The tablets by themselves are like the straws in that they're in the mid 70 range, But again, this is no indictment on any of these products. We know that they all can work. And when Kelly talks to people all day, every day, they use these products and you help them get really good results with whatever product they're using, right, Kelly?
Right. Yes.
And really this gets into just the nature of the science. Again, like you said, Mike, it's not an indictment on a product, but what does the science say? What do we know about biofilm development? What do we know about these treatment products and how they work best, how they were designed to work, and what's the success of that scientifically? So here we're looking at the data, but we also know the science. And these tablets and straws are low-level antimicrobials. Kelly T, what does that mean, and what does it mean in their battle against biofilm?
Yeah, so low-level antimicrobials, the tablets, the straws, they are designed to be continuously present in the water bottle. So, you fill it up with your tap water, you put that low-level antimicrobial in, they're great at maintaining low levels of bacteria. Now, biofilm, this picture on the right here, rarely do we see this be this bad. If you see this coming out of your lines, you got a problem, right? Like you're not, this is a problem. But a lot of the times, most of the time, it's microscopic. You can send in a water sample to us. It looks clear, great. We test it and it's got over 88,000 colony forming units of bacteria. And it does, it goes back to that science. So the low-level antimicrobials, they're safe to use on our patients, and they will maintain lines that are clean. So this is great. So the low-level antimicrobials represented by the little guy, the blue guy with the sword and shield, and he is the straw. He's the tablet. He will maintain your low levels of bacteria, and he can stand his ground when it's just low levels of bacteria. But over time, bacteria just keeps getting reinforced, and that biofilm forms, that thick slime layer that gets on the inside of the line, it forms. And shocking becomes 100% necessary. And shocking is using a strong chemical that's not safe to ingest. So that diluted bleach solution or the Cross-Tex Liquid Ultra, something that you can't just squirt in your patient's mouth. That's going to get your lines clean. So then the low-level antimicrobials can do their job. They're designed to maintain lines that are already clean, and you get the lines clean by shocking. Shocking is recommended prior to starting a treatment. We definitely, again, we want to, prior to going back to your routine care now, you definitely want to shock at least every 90 days, no matter what product you're using. And then of course, if you have a test that comes back with a failed result, you want to shock and then test to make sure that it passed. You can go to proedgedental.com/shock for more information on this, or reach out and we'll help you with whatever product you are using. But it all comes down to this. And we've been testing water for a long time, and we know what works. We've seen what works. We've seen what doesn't. There's a ton of products out there. Some are better than others. But we've come up with this proven protocol, what we like to call the 3 steps to safe water. And it's across the board, no matter what product you're using. These 3 steps will get you passing results 95% of the time, maybe more. The first step is shocking. Again, shocking before you start a treatment. If you're switching from one product to another, really, really important to shock. So even if you're switching from one tablet to another, critical to shock quarterly. And then also, of course, if you have a test that comes back fails, you want to shock and then retest. And then treating continuously, that's our step 2. So that's that low-level antimicrobial, the tablet, the straw, designed to be continuously present in your water lines all the time. So it'll maintain those lines that the shocking cleans. And then step 3 is testing. Testing is just proving that your step 1 and your step 2 worked. And it's recommended by OSAP. We definitely recommend it. It's the only way to validate that your protocol is effective. You can do step 1 and step 2 all day long, but without testing to prove that it's working, it really didn't happen, right? I mean, as my day when I was a nurse, if I didn't document something, it didn't happen. Same thing with dental. If you don't document this, it didn't happen.
So a lot of people will respond to the last one and say, well, or the first one, shock first or test quarterly, and say, well, with my treatment product, you don't have to do that. Again, looking at the data doesn't back that up. Looking at the science doesn't back that up. And OSAP knows that. So OSAP, the Organization for Safety, Asepsis, and Prevention, they are basically an advocacy organization inside of dental for the safest dental visit. Where they wrote, and this was by Shannon Mills, who Mike introduced us to in the very beginning, who we call the godfather of Waterlines. Yeah. He, along with Nuala Portillas and Jeff Sawada, wrote the most comprehensive white paper on dental unit waterline maintenance to date, and you can find that on their website. But even when a treatment product or a dental unit manufacturer doesn't have waterline testing recommendations, they say even when they're unclear or absent, you want to be testing every 3 months at a minimum. So they actually, OSAP's recommendation for testing is you test every month. Then once you have acceptable passing results for 2 consecutive months, then you go to every 3 months or quarterly or every 90 days, all the same thing at a minimum. And so that's where that quarterly recommendation comes from. Now at ProEdge, we want to look at the data. We always want to look at the data. What is the data saying and what does the science say? So we've got here, this is what the head scientists say in the industry. This is what you should be doing. And then what does the data say? Well, the data says the more often you test, the better you get at following your protocol. And so if you look at that first bar there, the first test, these are people that have never tested before. The first time they ever test, the pass rate is actually about 60%. We've looked at smaller subsets, and sometimes it's 47%, sometimes it's 52%. So really important that you start testing, because that 69% earlier that we saw in terms of passing results, well, that was all testers throughout that 22,000, but the first time testers was quite a bit lower than that. Now, the more you test, it's not like somehow that magically gets biofilm out of the lines, but you get that feedback. You learn, okay, am I using my treatment product effectively? Am I following the instructions for use? Do I have a good protocol? Do I need to pair this with shock? Do I have a bad source water? Because sometimes you can be doing all the right stuff with a treatment. You can be shocking quarterly. You can be treating with a tablet or straw, and you can still be getting wildly failing results because there's an underlying source water issue, or a dental unit has a dead leg that, and we can get into this in the Q&A, but a dead leg that's basically feeding bacteria into the other lines, and there's no way a tablet or even a weekly shock could survive that. So in any consistent basis. So regular treatment or regular testing, the more you test, you learn how to pass, you learn how to develop that effective protocol. And then we looked at the data for quarterly testing. So CHCs and government clinics have to test quarterly for part of their funding. And they also, in large part, most of them follow the 3-step protocol, and they get fantastic results. 95% passing when they are testing quarterly. They've learned an effective protocol, and they do great. The rest of dental is a little bit behind. Not as much of a dedication to frequency of testing, and so they don't get that regular feedback. Underlying issues expose themselves at different times, and pass rates are a little bit less. So, or not a little bit, 20% or so less. So, all right, we got the danger. We know biofilm is developing, and it's a stubborn issue that we've got to deal with. What are our options? We should be testing. What do we test with? Mike, take us through our options.
Well, there's the standard mail-in lab testing, which gets you that third-party verification. When you send it to our lab, we use R2A, which is the gold standard. So you do get that numerical count that we all like, especially when it's 0. Love to see that. We get cool results that we can post to Facebook and do a happy dance with. When you buy our mail-in test, the shipping is included. You just buy it from your dental supply company. I saw Liz Galler's on here. Lots of good company. You can get it from make it easy for you. They make it easy for you to buy it. You get it, you mail it in. We incubate it for 7 days and send you the results. The other choice is the in-office water test. Ours is called Quick Pass. It's a little blue, and you do it yourself. What we like about it, what people love about it, is they're the only ones that see the results. So, if you do have a You know, you see it, you get the results in 2 or 3 days. If you have a failure, you can deal with it quicker. It's more economical because FedEx is not involved. So it makes it quicker, easier, faster. Oh, here's a fun fact. I like to say, doctor, you don't have to buy one of these for every single line in your dental office. Just buy one for every operatory and do a combined sample. So you can take a little bit from the air water syringe on the doctor side, a little bit from the air water syringe on the assistant side, a little bit from the high-speed handpiece, a little bit from the other high-speed handpiece. You can put 4 samples in here, you know, in an operatory. In a hygiene room, you might only have an air water syringe and a scaler. But those combined samples, if you pass, you've proven all the lines in that room are safe and you can sleep good at night. If you fail, you're going to shock them all anyway. You're not going to know which one caused the failure. But I love this because this saves us another 75%, and it allows us to test our water lines every quarter for the same price that it used to cost to test annually. So it's a big cost savings. And Kelly B, I got to commend you for having us look at the science behind this, because, you know, there's something anti-instinctual about this. You'd think, well, if I put 4 samples in there, isn't there a potential for a false negative, right? And I'll be sleeping good at night, but there's one line that didn't pass, but it didn't cause a failure. Turns out that only happens less than 3% of the time. So in other words, what we've learned by looking at the data is that when someone fails, they're failing, usually the average failure is 32,000 colony forming units. They're usually losing the battle or they're winning the battle and they're passing at close to 0. So either you're at 0 or you're failing. And the chances are that you're somewhere close to 500 or even between 0 and 200 only happens 3% of the time. So that's why Shannon Mills and Jeff Zawada and Nuala Porteous said that combined samples are a great option, and they put it in the OSAP position paper. So makes good sense, saves a lot of money, makes it easy. And when you do the math on all of that, you know, how much does it cost to test our water lines? Well, it costs about 12 cents a patient. And their study was done a long time ago. It was published in Dental Economics, I think, that showed the cost per patient is about $15 per patient for all the things that we're already doing for personal protective equipment pre-COVID. That is gloves, mask, eyewear, barriers, surface disinfectants, autoclave testing, autoclave pouches, all those things that we do already. We're spending $15 per patient. And then just so how much does it cost to treat our water? Well, if you use a tablet like Blue Tab, it's around 24 cents a patient. If you use a straw, it's around 29 cents a patient. And if you want to test your water, it's 12 cents a patient. So think of it this way. 12 cents is way less than 1% of the 15 bucks you're already spending. So you're 99% of the way there. Spend 1% more to verify that your water is safe. Then you can sleep good. And that 12 cents is to test every line every 90 days. So it's a pretty good, you know, it's not a hardship anymore, I don't think. With the new water testing, it's pretty economical.
So we're wrapping up here. We want to get to your questions. More coming in. That's awesome. Keep them coming. Again, check and see, is there a question in there that you already like or very similar to yours? Give it that thumbs up. But real quick, just to let you know what ProEdge has available to you. So again, we've got that laboratory test. You can mail it in, purchase through your favorite dental supply company, but you get that third-party verification. Now, ProEdge uses gold standard testing methods, and Mike talked about R2A auger earlier in the Anaheim outbreak, that we use that, which is gold standard testing method recommended by OSAP. But we go beyond that in all of our laboratory methods. So whether that's vortexing your samples or germicidal neutralization, which makes the test a lot more reliable, which is also recommended by OSAP, that you test with a lab that does that. But also all of our testing is done blind. So the lab technicians have no idea where the sample came from, no idea what products are being used. And that data is married later on in the end. So they have no idea. They're just reading bacteria, right? Overnight shipping is included, which right now is super handy because FedEx has a bunch of surcharges. Well, we absorb that when you order our kits. There are kits available that don't have shipping included. They look a lot cheaper, but then you get banged for the shipping. So keep an eye on that. Complimentary consultations with every test. That's with Kelly T and her team, and we'll get into that. We also have a subscription option. Basically, you pick your favorite dental supply company, and then we handle the rest. But if you want to go to quarterly testing, don't want to have to remember, that's an option for you. This is what those test results look like on the mail-in laboratory test. We email you back this report after you got it, and hopefully you got all those greens. Man, we love greens. And greens come when you get a test result that's closer to 0, and so and a passing result. So you get a precise microbial count, a pass-fail grade, and then you also get the safety level, green, yellow, red, and that just helps you know what are the next steps I should take to make sure that my water lines are safe for the long run. As Mike said earlier, we've got the Quick Pass. It's an in-office water test, and you get the results in 48 to 72 hours. So quite a bit quicker than any of the mail-in laboratory tests. Germicidal neutralization, again, that's that reliability piece, is included inside the membrane. And then what a lot of people like is that the bacteria grows red on a white background as opposed to gray on gray. Makes it really lovely to read. Almost makes it tasty, kind of like a popsicle.
No,
maybe?
it's not.
No, okay.
No, Kelly, let me just, so this I tested on Friday, and you can see it's time to shock. It's time to shock this water line. I am not gonna open this up because I opened it up this morning to look at it, and it wasn't fresh smelling.
Don't lick it. Don't lick it.
Don't lick it. Yeah, once you, yeah.
Not a popsicle.
So again, the Quick Pass is the blue paddle on the left. These are the exact same sample with the AquaSafe red paddle. Red paddle is a great idea, but the Quick Pass, we hope you see that it made several improvements, including this red on the white background, making it really easy to read. Documentation with the Quick Pass. Even if you're doing in-office testing, you want documentation. So this is the Quick Pass water testing log. You can download that off our website, proedgedental.com/quickpass, and all one word, Quick Pass. And you can download that. Again, kind of follows a very similar format as our mail-in lab report, but definitely want to document, keep those reports, whether the mail-in or the in-office, for 5 years in your OSHA log or wherever you keep those things. We also have Blue Tab. It's a 3-time Dental Townie Award winner, including 3 years in running, 2017, 2018, and 2019, the most recent year. And it's a great product. We love it. I hope you do too. Video training resources. Go to YouTube. You can go to proedgedental.com you can go to youtube.com and enter in ProEdge Dental Water Labs. You'll find our video training resources. Again, research-based. Everything we do is based on what does the data say and what does the science say. And hopefully it's not boring. You'll see Kelly T offer you lots of helpful, practical advice, and you'll see me
eating a donut. Eating a donut. Because everybody knows that's the proper technique for when you're shocking your water lines. You want to eat a donut because that's how long it takes, 10 minutes.
Recommended, not required. Complimentary consultations. So this is available to you all the time. Know that it's available to you. Kelly T and her team, you can always call us. She'll help you learn best practices, everything we discussed in this webinar and beyond. Improve your test results, get access to all the resources we have available, answer your questions. And then the last point there that I really want to highlight is that she and her team help you use your treatment product more effectively. So whatever you're using, whether you're using Blue Tab or not, we don't care about. We want you to get great test results every single time. And that's what Kelly T and her team are going to help you do. We're fanatical at ProEdge about knowing instructions for use, understanding the instructions for use and the latest recommendations and guidelines, and the data. What is this treatment? How does this treatment product perform with this source water? And what should we do? You know, all these different situations that arise, we can help you do that with the treatment product you use to make it more effective. All right, that's it. We're a little long, but we're getting into the Q&A here in just 1 second. First, just want to thank you for spending the time today. Mike and Kelly and I were talking about this morning. just one more webinar, you know?
Zoom, I'm so sick of webinars. I'm zoomed out.
So I'm sure you're all with us in that. You've probably all dove into professional development, which kudos to you to really make this time valuable. But it's another webinar, and you've probably been through a lot. So we hope this one was really valuable for you. Thank you for valuing high standards in infection prevention. And now it's Christmas in April. We get to be kind of like,
you get toilet paper, you get toilet paper.
all right, so no, we don't have toilet paper for you, but we do have CE. Okay, first thing I'm gonna say is that you take a picture of this slide. I wish we had an easier process for you, but I don't. I'm sorry, this is the best we could do, and so we hope it's valuable to you. To get CE, go to proedgedental.com/COVID19. proedgedental.com/COVID19. Scroll to the Molinari ebook. You'll see John Molinari and Nancy Dewhurst, beautiful faces. And you can click that link and a quick download. You'll download a 10-page ebook. Now, on that ebook, you're going to go to page 20. And I know you're having flashbacks to the dummy straw stuff. And when I was telling you I wasn't a dummy, and you're like, Kelly, how can a 10-page ebook have page 20? I'm telling you it does. I promise you, on the bottom, it is only 10 pages, but we had to mess with just trust me on this. Go to page 20. You'll see the page numbers on the bottom. Go to page 20. You'll see the quiz, and you'll see a link at the top. You click on that link, and that'll take you to CDE World, where you can take that quiz. Enter that promo code. It's also on page 20, the promo code, but it's here, it's CTIC2. And you can enter that where they ask for the promo code, and you'll get that CE quiz for free. Now you got to pass the test. We went over all the answers, even Mike,
Mike gave a couple.
Mike highlighted at least 2 of them, I think I remember.
Yeah.
The tough one. So you should be good to go. Take a picture of this. We'll come back to it during the Q&A, but to keep moving. All right, how do you get your free quick pass, 4-packet quick pass? So when team at ProEdge was getting together kind of at the beginning of this whole COVID-19 thing, we were realizing, oh my goodness, this biofilm issue is going to be a real problem. And practices are going to come back to their offices. And obviously there's lots of financial concerns with where everybody's at and where the industry is at. And we didn't want finances to be a barrier to your practice getting started testing and making sure that this extra period of testing right now with COVID, that this wasn't a barrier, and we wanted to make sure your patients were safe. So take another picture of this slide. This is how you can get request that 4-pack. proedgetogether.com/live webinar, all one word, proedgedental.com/live webinar. Enter the password ProEdge together and submit the form, and we'll make sure that happens for you. Now, we appreciate if you share the webinar. We're going to continue to do webinars, more and more webinars. We're going to continue to offer this. So we'd appreciate you share the webinar and not this slide, so people go through the webinar and actually learn how to use these products more effectively and learn what they need to do to be CDC compliant and safe. But that is available to you. All right, and last slide, this is our contact information. If you have any questions about your office that we don't get to here in the Q&A, or other questions come up, or you're still confused, or whatever, email Kelly T. She'll get you straight, or Mike Rust. And if you want other jokes, I don't know if you'd like to email me. I don't know why you would, but no. Feel free to email me as well. When you click out of this, you're going to get a survey prompt. We appreciate your feedback. We're always trying to improve. So, all right, team, let's dive in to Q&A. All right, Sharon asked on the chat, will slides be available? We're going to send you a video recording of this webinar within 24 hours. So be on the lookout for that. All right, first question. Oh, Arthi asks, I hope I'm spelling or pronouncing your name right, but will we get a recording of this webinar? Yes, you will, within 24 hours. All right, Carrie Chandler asks, how long do you have the shock solution sit in the lines? How many minutes do you flush the lines out after? Kelly T, you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah. So depending on what shock product or shock protocol that you're going to go with. So with the diluted bleach solution, it's just a 10-minute shock. So you're going to want to put 1 part bleach to 9 parts water. And we have a document on this. Be happy to send it to you, or we have a video as well on our YouTube channel. But 1 part bleach, 9 parts water. You're going to run that through each one of your water lines and let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. And then you want to and make sure you set a timer. So it's really important. And then you want to flush it out for a good 2 to 3 minutes until all of that diluted bleach is out of those lines. Now, if you're using the Crosstex, the Liquid Ultra that used to be called Sterilex, the pink stuff, that is a product that you leave in your lines overnight. So it's 2 bottles of a pink solution. You dump these 2 bottles together into your water bottle. Then you're going to run that solution through each water line, let it sit overnight. And then you want to flush a full bottle of water through those lines in the morning when you come in the next day. And that's really an important piece. A lot of people will just flush until they don't see pink anymore, and that's just not enough. You need to flush the full bottle of water through those lines, and that's a 3-night shock. It's a consecutive 3. You have to do it 3 nights in a row.
All right, Mike, we had a question. Who do you recommend as far as a company for testing?
I like Loma Linda. I think John Molinari and Nancy Dewhurst use their data as well, and they talk to those people. They're super nice, and I think they're helpful. Loma Linda University also tests water, but I'm the sales guy, so I would if you consider ProEdge for your water testing needs.
I was wondering where you were headed with that.
I was like, what? No.
We do like Loma Linda, but yeah, we hope you'd consider ProEdge. All right, Mike, you've got a great answer for this in terms of Swati's question gets to what's the best practice in terms of shocking and testing in that protocol. So she asked, should we shock before or after testing? If after testing, how long should we wait after shocking to test? So, and maybe we can break this up for COVID,
right,
and also just best practice.
Right. So for COVID, currently maybe you're using 1 operatory, and that one is just like standard normal procedure. Post-COVID, you're going to open those dry operatories, and when you do that, you're going to shock your water lines and test immediately. In fact, we suggest you get in there the week before you're going to open up, shock the lines and test them right away. And that will prove, 2 days later, you'll have a result. And if it looks like this, you pass, that means you're good to go. You got that green light to treat patients the following week. That's the best part about having 2 days or 2 or 3 days results in 2 or 3 days. But then just the 3-step protocol that we like, the 3 steps to safe water, I like to think of it this way. If you shock on January 1st and then use your favorite tablet or straw every day and then test on March 31st and pass, you've proven that your water was safe for the first 90 days of the year. If you do that 4 times a year, you've proven your water is safe for every patient, every day, all day. You can sleep good at night knowing it. And then what Kelly suggests is that you document it with that log, and then that protects your practice, right? In worst case scenario. So shock on the first day, test on the last day of the quarter, shock the next day anyway, regardless of whether you pass or fail, you're going to shock every quarter. If you just get in the habit of doing that, guess what? You will pass over 95% of the times. That's true of all of our CHC. It's true of all of our government. It's true of anybody that tests quarterly. They pass 96% of the time. They don't fail. So it's a really, if you slept through the whole thing, I'd say this is the one part. Wake up now, because shock on the first day, use your tablet or straw, test on the last day. If you fail, you're going to shock and retest anyway. And again, I think that's the quick way to sleeping good at night, knowing your water's safe and your practice is protected.
All right, we've got a couple of good questions about Stericyl straw. We use a Stericyl straw. It is pretty hard to remove the straw, not the cartridge. Can we run the shock through the unit with the straw connected? So I'm going to answer the first part of that, I think, Kelly T, but or Mike, either one of you can come into this. But So it's hard to remove the straw. It has a quick connect, and I'm sure this isn't perfectly visible, but it has this on the end of the straw. It has this quick connect that can go into the straw. Now, all you have to do with the complimentary dummy straw that you can request from ProEdge, again, proedgedental.com/dummy, is you just take this off and twist this on, and then you're able to shock through it. Now, Kelly T, do you want to talk about shocking through Stericyl straw?
Sure. Yeah, so with Stericyl straw, that is the only straw that you can shock with a product called Citrasil Shock. It's an orange tablet, also made by Stericyl. So you can shock safely through the Stericyl straw with the Citrasil Shock product only. Now, if you're using any other straw, you don't want to use any product through it. But if you have the Stericyl straw, you can safely shock with the Citrasil Shock product. But sometimes we don't see the best results with it. So we do recommend using the product made by Crosstex. I don't work for Crosstex, don't get paid by them. Although I do feel like I sell a lot of their product or suggest
That's right.
that's what works. You know, I like to recommend what works, and we see really good results with that product. So yeah, you can just twist the Stericyl straw off, twist on the dummy straw, which is just an empty take-up tube, and then you can shock with either the Crosstex Liquid Ultra or the diluted bleach solution. But yes, you really can shock through the Stericyl straw with Citrasil Shock tablets. They're orange shock tablets.
Wow. Try saying that with marbles in your mouth.
I know, right?
All right, and how often do we shock with the Stericyl straw, Kelly?
So on the Stericyl instructions for use, it says to shock monthly with the Citrasil Shock tablets. So you know, you can do that. I don't know if they necessarily tell you that when you get them installed, but their maintenance guide does say monthly shocking with Citrasil Shock you'll get the best results. We recommend at least shocking quarterly, but again, we like a stronger shock product. So using the dummy straw to shock with a stronger shock product once a quarter.
And one more time, proedgedental.com/dummy to get your complimentary dummy straw. You only need that if you're using a shock product, a Denapure Stericyl Hufridi shock or Denapure Hufridi Stericyl straw product. You don't need that if you have tablets. But all right, well, we'll keep moving on. Great questions, guys. That's fantastic. All right, what's the bleach concentration that's recommended? 1 to 10 or stronger? This question comes from Daniel.
Daniel, so 1 to 10, so 1 part bleach, 9 parts water is good. The contact time is what you really want to pay attention to. So 10 to 15 minutes is good. And you want to make sure that it's just regular household bleach. So it doesn't have to be Clorox. I mean, it can be, but it just regular household bleach. You don't want to use like the scented kind, or they have a spill resistant. It's like a thickened kind of bleach. It has other ingredients. You don't want to use that. So just regular household bleach, 1 part bleach, 9 parts water. So it's a 1 to 10 ratio. And you want to leave it in your lines for 10, 15 minutes and then flush it out of there really good for about 2 to 3.
All right, Genesis asked about the dummy straw. Is it reusable? Yes, it is. So you can, every time you shock this, you're disinfecting the inside of this. So you're fine to just take it off, put it back in the bag and reuse it later on. But if you ever need more, just give us a call. All right, Mike Riley asked, what are some options for a sterile reservoir to hold sterile water during surgical procedures?
Well, that's a great question. And if you have a surgical handpiece that you use for implant surgery, for example, those almost all come with an external water attachment so that you can attach a disposable water line for the high-speed handpiece to use during implant surgery and surgical procedures. There are also, you can buy sterile water by the bag or by the bottle. But the bag can be spiked and you can attach the disposable line to it. The bottle, and what most people end up doing, this is sort of a low-tech solution, but it's completely acceptable to buy a bottle of sterile water, pour it into a DAPN dish, and then just use a monoject syringe and use that, or any kind of, or a bulb syringe, to just irrigate with sterile water. This is what the CDC says is required for all surgical procedures. You want to use sterile water from that sterile source, meaning don't put sterile water into your dirty dental water lines. You want to use a disposable, single-use, sterile water line, whether it's for your high-speed handpiece or for your air water syringe.
All right, Mike, I think you know Liz Galler?
Liz, yes. Hi, Liz.
So she asked a question early on. Liz, I'm sorry I lost it in the shuffle, but great question. Isn't there so we're talking about COVID-19. Is there a concern that the room that's used for emergency patients will have high bacterial counts due to the stagnant water if only used once or twice a week? Should the lines in that room be tested prior to seeing patients to ensure CDC compliance? So first thing I would say is all of these lines should be tested prior to seeing all dental units should be tested prior to seeing patients to ensure CDC compliance, because the biofilm development is going to be across the board. But Mike, do you want to take on the kind of the initial part of that about the emergency, the room that's using?
No, I don't. It's too hard.
Okay.
No, I'll give it a shot. So treat them all. I think Kelly, I think you answered it pretty beautifully. We got to treat all the operatories the same. I mean, if you're using if you've got a room that you're using for emergency treatment, that's the way you always treat water. That's a wet room for now, right? And in the future, we just call that an operatory, where we shock on the first day, test on the last day of the quarter, and use our favorite treatment. If you're using it for surgery, use sterile water for surgery. Yeah, but as Kelly said, going back, we're going to shock all lines before we get started. We want that green light to treat patients in every operatory going back to normal.
And it may just be, just a little bit more, maybe just if they're not using that room as often, if they're only there one day a week or whatnot, maybe shocking more often is necessary right now, just because if that line is sitting more stagnant, it is going to have more bacterial growth. So, if an office is there, great, have them flush the lines as often as possible. But if they are just there that one day a week, I would think about shocking more often, just to ensure that the water line is clean, because that's really going to be your key. That's going to clean those water lines out, so then the low-level antimicrobial can do its job.
Good
All
point.
right. Sharon's looking for some clarification on the Sterile straw. So the devil's in the details, I'm telling you, with all of these things. So real slow, and this isn't against you, Sharon, just it's tough to follow, right? You got all the sills and dummy straws and straw dummies and regular straw. Anyway, so with the Sterile straw, you can shock through it with Citrustil shock tablets. That's the only straw shock combo you can do that with. You can't do Citrustil shock tablets with any other straw, and you can't do Sterile straw or any of the other straws with any other solution. Only Citrustil shock tablets can go through Sterile straw treatment product. Now, like Kelly T said, we like Cross-Sex Liquid Ultra and diluted bleach. Again, where does that recommendation come from? Just looking at the data in terms of what tends to get the most consistent results. So we would recommend whatever straw product you use, you go to proedgedental.com/dummy, request a dummy straw so you can easily take the straw off, put this on, and you can shock with Cross-Sex Liquid Ultra or diluted bleach. Because again, we just, in our experience, that'll get you the best results most consistently. Mike, did you have something to add there?
That just what you said at the very end. The reason we encourage you to get a straw from us, even if you have Sterile straws, because the data shows that if you that shock with a stronger product like bleach or liquid ultra, you're going to get much better results than if you shock with Citrustil through the Sterile straw. I mostly just wanted to say that one more time because it's so hard to say. You can shock the Sterile straw with Citrustil shock. Blah, blah, blah.
It is hard. It is really hard. All right. So Deborah says, I bought Quick Pass and blue tabs last week. Shout out to Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Deborah. My question is, since I use a mobile unit that has the Cavitron attachment and air water lines, do I test one for air water and run the Cavitron with a tip on to test water lines?
Yeah, you don't have to have the Cavitron tip on to test the water lines. It's kind of messy. It aerosolizes it a bit. So if you take the tip off, you can just collect the water for that. But that's one part of the question. The other part of the question, right, is can I, what did she say? Do I test one for the air water syringe and run the other? You can do a combined sample with air water syringe and your Cavitron. If you pass, they both pass. If they fail, you're going to shock both of them anyway. And remember, as Kelly said, it's harder to shock a Cavitron. The lines are much longer, the water moves much slower. You have to be very patient. I know I've made every mistake you can make trying to shock Cavitrons.
All right, Kelly T. Carrie asks, do you bleed out the lines a little before, so I think flush out the lines a little bit before collecting samples from each line?
Yeah, definitely. So you'd want to, get the lines kind of flowing. You don't want to get there first thing in the morning and just take a sample because you're going to get what was kind of sitting in there. So yeah, definitely run your lines for a little bit before you take the sample. That's just a best practice, and try to do it as it's never going to be a sterile technique, right? But as aseptically as possible.
Now, I like what you talk about when we want to test the same, basically try and test the same water we use on patients. Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, so people will call and be like, do I put the blue tab in or the tablet in, or do I put the straw in to test? And my answer is always yes. We want to test the water that you're going to be using on your patients. So, put your blue tab in, put your ICX or use your straw, and then take your sample. We'll neutralize it. So we have that germicidal neutralization that Kelly was talking about earlier. We will neutralize that when it gets to our lab, or even when you do the quick pass. We have that germicidal neutralization built in, so you don't have to worry about that getting in the way. We want to test the water that you're using on your patients to see where you stand.
We had somebody talked about the promo code not working. Looks like it's working for some. If you're having any troubles, you can email support@proedgedental.com. You also might reach out to CDE World because we verify that promo code is still working and active. So CTIC2 should be working. But sorry if you're having any troubles. Reach out to us if you are. Okay, Emily asks, can you reuse the dummy straws on different units if you are using bleach solution? Does each unit need its own straw, or do they have to be thrown away like one-time use? Or can we use it 2 months from now when we re-shock? Kelly T?
Yeah, you can reuse it, definitely. So you don't need one for each unit. So you're just going to use it to, so when they install your straw, they cut that take-up tube kind of short, right? So this is just going to make your take-up tube longer, but you can use it on all your units. If you have 15, let us know and we'll send you a couple. But yeah, if you can use it, you can use it over and over. It's just an empty take-up tube. There's no chemical in it. And actually, when you run the product through it, it'll clean it. So yeah, you can use it as many times as you need to. Save it, use it when you need to shock next quarter. You can use it on all your units. You just want to make sure that you're using it to both put either the diluted bleach or the liquid ultra. You want to put it in with that dummy straw, as well as you want to flush it out with that dummy straw on.
A couple more great questions to get to here. Mudita asks, we have a central filter line and do not have water bottles. Any suggestions for me? Thanks. Mike, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, Mudita, if I don't answer this, ask it again, because when you say central filter line, that can mean several things, right? Does it mean you've got a central filter in another room? Do you have the VistaClear or the VistaPure system in the other room that we showed on that slide? If so, follow those instructions for use for sanitization. If you're talking about a central filter that's just like a premise plumbing filter, like a Culligan or something like that, or even a series of filters like a reverse osmosis unit, same story there. You want to make sure that they're part of the solution and not part of the problem. So you want to test that source water. But the short answer is, if you do not have water bottles, we don't know of a great way to shock those water lines. We love retrofitting so that you have a water bottle in every operatory, because when you do that, you can have clean water in 10 minutes. You just shock 1 to 10 for 10 minutes. Your water is safe. We don't sell those kits, but reach out to your to whatever the manufacturer of your equipment is. Chances are they make a retrofit kit. It's cheaper than I thought. It's only like $200 per chair, plus have your service tech come install them, and they can do 4 of them in an afternoon, and you can be good to go. And now's a really good time to retrofit if you don't have water bottles. You might, the other part of that is you might want to test, you can test your water and see how you're doing, but without water bottles, if you fail a water test, we don't know of a great way to shock your water lines. And even the FDA says untreated water is unlikely to pass. So that's why we like water bottles.
And he did clarify that they have a central filter in the compressor room that has lines that go to each individual.
Operatory. Okay, so that's like the Vista Clear system. And with that product, if it's that one, go to their website and watch their short 25-minute video on how to shock their water lines. And for the record, it is tricky. You have to shut down the office for a half day, but we've seen widely varying results. Normally they're not very good, but we've also seen passing results. So you can do it following their instructions. But I would say this, it's a bit of work. It's not always easy.
All right, Kelly T. Lisa asks, what type of water is recommended for water bottles and for shock bleach water? And should the tablet be put directly into the bottle, or can it be pre-mixed in a gallon or distilled water and poured when needed? So 2 questions: what water is recommended, and can you pre-mix water with your tablets? Great question, Lisa.
Yeah, so we like tap water. It's governed by the EPA and the CDC. It's got to meet certain guidelines, right? From a bacteria standpoint anyway. So if you know your area has hard water, then we recommend getting commercial water, but you don't need to get distilled water unless it's something that you absolutely want to use or have to with like a handpiece or something. But we like just either tap water or bottled drinking water that's balanced in minerals. It tastes better for your patients, and it works better with the tablets and the straws. Filtration systems, any kind of filtration systems, or like a reverse osmosis unit, in-office distillers, they tend to have, they get passing results about 15% of the time. They have high counts of bacteria. They do what they're made to do, and that's remove total dissolved solids and other impurities. But from a bacteria standpoint, they are not that great for water bottles. So we recommend, again, tap water, or if you don't want to use the tap water in your area, get bottled water by the gallon from a commercial Walmart, wherever you want to get it from, or have it delivered, but by the gallon. And yes, you can premix a gallon, and that's a great idea. So you can use 2 of the 2-liter tablets to dilute a gallon of water. So have it ready, and you can top off your bottles, or you can just fill them up that way. It's a great idea. I would label, the date that you put the tablets in. That way it's good to go. But yes, that's an awesome idea. We have people do that all the time. You can do, I would go with the drinking water, artesian water. You don't need to do distilled unless it's something that you absolutely want to do. Now you do need to use distilled water for your autoclave, but you don't need to for your water lines, water bottles.
Following up on that, we've got another Sterisil question. So they use distilled water with a distilled Sterisil straw. And so they're asking, do we use distilled water to shock those rooms since the straws are those type? Kelly T, go ahead.
Yeah, so that is the exception. So Sterisil products, so whether you're using the Citrasil shot or Citrasil tablets or the Sterisil, work better with distilled water. All the other really products work better with the tap or the drinking, like I was saying. So yeah, if you're going to shock your Sterisil, I would use, and you have the distilled model, I would use the distilled water.
And that would only come into play if they're using Citrasil shock tablets, right? I mean, if you're using Liquid Ultra.
Correct. Yes. But on a daily, like on a daily, if they have that Sterisil that's designed for distilled water, you want to use the distilled water for that.
And the Citrasil shock product, instructions for use say, mix it with distilled water.
Yeah. Warm, 6 ounces of warm distilled water.
Yeah.
Now, Kelly T, if they did the Stericyl straw,
Mhm.
distilled Stericyl straw with diluted bleach, now you'd take that straw off, but does it
Right.
matter then whether they use
No.
distilled?
No, I don't think there's any reason to. You can use just
Right.
regular tap water to flush that out of there. You're not putting that through the straw. So yeah, if you take that Stericyl straw off, use the dummy straw to put the diluted bleach, through, and to flush it out as well. You don't need to use the distilled water. You can just use regular tap water to do that.
Now, hopefully we answered your questions and didn't just confuse you further.
You.
So if that happened, that could totally happen, and that would be our fault. So please email Kelly T and she'll go over that again.
And watch the video on how to shock. It's pretty good.
Which gets to our next question, which is, do we have a video explaining how shocking is done? Yes, we do. You can go to proedgedental.com/shock. proedgedental.com/shock. And you can download a protocol, you can see a video, and that'll explain exactly how you do that. How you do that with diluted bleach. Now we also have other videos available, including one that goes over the 3 steps of safe water, a video that just kind of talks about general maintenance. So hopefully that's what you mean in your question, and this comes from Anonymous, but and there's other videos there for you. So hopefully we've covered it all that you need. All right, last question. When you say flush your lines, do you mean run the HVE and the slow speed suction lines with water and blue tap?
So go ahead, Gail. I was going to, this is a semantics thing, but some people call those lines we call them the evacuations lines, but some people call them dental unit water lines. That word, I'm stupid, so I need help. So to avoid confusion, let's just call let's just call dental unit water lines the water lines that go from the water bottles to the air water syringe to the Cavitron and to the high-speed hand pieces and the slow-speed hand pieces. We'll call those dental water lines. Let's call the evacuation line, whether it's high volume or saliva ejector, let's call those evacuation lines. And those products need to be cleaned with evacuation products. And I don't know anything about them except there's a bunch of them out there, and they're designed to keep the smell down and to prolong the life of your compressor. They're kind of they're equipment products. I like to think of it as the beginning of the sewer. So you want to keep them clean so it doesn't stink. You want to clean your traps. As part of the protocol of going back to work after COVID, you want to make sure that those things are running good and smelling good. But we call those evacuation products, and you want to use an evacuation product to clean those. Blue Tab's not designed for that. Blue Tab's designed to keep the water that we treat patients with safe. But we call those dental water lines, and we call the other ones evacuation lines.
And we don't want to put any shock products into the evacuation lines.
Yeah.
Right.
Any dental unit water line shock products into the
Right.
Oh, good point.
Cool. Yeah, that's really
There's a
important.
lot of those evacuation products that are designed to clean evacuation lines are called shock. They have like
Mhm.
shock and shock to clear, and they have funny names that, they're enzyme products, and lots of great marketing, Kelly, really, shock.
But really confusing. So it does get confusing. I think people do get the two confused a lot. So really important when you're shocking with either the diluted bleach, with any shock product, really, with any water line shock product, you don't want to put that down your evacuation lines. You want to flush into a cup, a bucket, a sink that's nearby. Now, if you have a cuspidor that's attached to that unit, don't flush into that because that could be that could lead to your amalgam separator. So flush into a cup or bucket and then just dump it down a regular sink. You don't want to put any of the shock products down the evacuation lines.
All right. And so then to address her original question, which is when you say flush your lines, what do you mean? What does flushing your lines mean when we're talking about dental unit water lines, Kelly T?
So flushing is just going to be to get the water flowing through. So some people will call shocking and flushing the same thing. shocking is going to be using a strong chemical to clean those lines out. And then when I say to flush out the products, that's just flushing using regular tap water to flush the water, to keep that water going through the water lines, to get both the either diluted bleach or the liquid ultra, whatever product out, flush out those lines. Or when you get there in the mornings, when you're seeing patients, when you want to flush the lines, you want to get that water flowing through them, or flush your lines for 20 to 30 seconds in between patients. So flush, just run your lines, get the water flowing through those lines.
So just activate that air water syringe, get the water going.
Yeah.
That's all flushing is.
Mhm.
All right. And an anonymous who asked these questions, great questions. You also asked about the dummy straw. We went over that several times. So if you want to get one, if you want to learn more, go to proedgedental.com/dummy. ProEd, and I'll bring that up here again, proedgedental.com/dummy. There was one follow-up question, Kelly T. Can you please repeat how to collect the shock liquid after running through the lines?
I'm not exactly sure. What do you mean?
I think just.
So in other words, I think she's talking about to avoid putting it down the evacuation line.
Oh, yeah. So you're gonna, we'll start with the diluted bleach. So you're gonna put 1 part bleach, 9 parts water into your water bottle. Then you're gonna run that diluted bleach solution through each one of your water lines, let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. When you flush it out, you want to flush into a cup or into a bucket, or if you have a sink that's nearby that you can reach, you can definitely flush into that. So that's just using regular tap water to flush that bleach solution out of your lines. Same thing with the liquid ultra, the pink stuff. So you're gonna mix those 2 bottles of the pink, bottle 1, bottle 2 into your water bottle. It's pink. All you have to do is run the lines until you see pink come out, and then just let it sit overnight. The next morning, you're gonna wanna fill up your bottle with just regular tap water, and you're gonna flush all that pink stuff out, and you wanna flush a full bottle out, but flush into a cup or into a bucket and then dump it down a sink. You don't wanna flush into your evacuation lines.
All right, Sean's got a great question. We touched on this a little bit, but so we use a city water / central system. To my knowledge, we don't have any product that is maintaining the lines. Should we be shocking more frequently through our retrofitted system than you normally recommend? Kelly T, you want to take that one?
So I would say yes. Without using any kind of low-level antimicrobial, you need to shock weekly. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but it's really important. That's how quickly bacteria grows. So if you're not using any kind of low-level antimicrobial in your water lines, it's really, really important to shock once a week.
You have anything to add there, Mike?
I just want to make sure that his question, it looks like, is they don't have a product that's maintaining the lines. And they said they're using city water. So he might not have a water on there, right?
Well, he says our retrofitted system that you normally.
Once they retrofit, they'd have water bottles. Yes, the answer is the tablets. I mean, if you only use a shock product, you got to do it every week. If you use a tablet or a straw, you can go 2 or 3 months without shocking. That's kind of what we came up with.
The other thing we'd recommend there, Sean, is just make sure you're testing that source water, because again, we always say source water is either part of the solution or part of the problem. That's why you want to test it, because those central systems can struggle and may be overwhelming and making shocking really a challenge. So test it, see what you're getting back and how well it's doing. All right, guys, those are the questions. Another webinar bites the dust. Any parting words of wisdom to our dedicated dental professionals as they look to reopen after COVID-19?
I think everybody should go watch a 6-hour webinar on how not to watch 6-hour webinars.
6-hour webinar on how to care for yourself during. No, thanks.
About 5 hours too long.
Yeah, right. For me,
Here we are, 2 hours in almost. Waterlines.
Yeah, congratulations, everybody. You're boring now because we've given you all the information you need to be the life of the party at your next dinner party.
I joke about that, but I'll tell you, people ask me about Waterlines and I'll go on for 10 minutes. And that's because they keep asking questions.
That's true. That's true.
Ada says, I actually do feel boring sometimes.
Hey. Well, I'm glad we could help.
Well, whether it's boring or not, we hope this was somewhat fun and educational, informative, valuable for you guys. Thank you again so much for all you're doing. Keep it up. Stay strong through this. We're going to get through this together. If we can be of any assistance, please reach out to ProEdge. We're happy to answer any more questions, be helpful in any other way we can. You can find more resources at proedgedental.com/COVID-19 or reach out to Kelly T. Kelly T, did you have any parting words of wisdom?
I just wanted to, every office is unique. So we realize that. And just want to, we can't say it enough. We'll work with you on what protocol you're using to help you get the best results for your office. So yeah, please reach out. We know that there was a lot of information given kind of quickly, and there's probably tons of questions that might come up. So please reach out. We're happy to help any way we can.
So take down Kelly T's info, Mike's info, my info. We're here for you.
Kelly B.
Yes, sir.
When is our next webinar? For those people who thought it was not too boring and they wanted to invite their friends.
Yes. Our favorite participants who want to invite their friends. Our next one is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can go again to proedgedental.com/COVID-19, share that link, and people will be able to access it. And again, that same deal, same CE, same quick pass offer is available for them. We'd love it if you shared it.
Yeah.
All right, team.
Awesome.
Godspeed out there. Thank you, everybody.
Guys.
Everybody.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you guys. Thank you.